Okay, well, hopefully there are some people here watching, and we can start doing this. This is my first live stream for exposing the D&D 5e monsters live, so hopefully you enjoy this, and it should be a fun time. So what are we looking at right here? Well, this is a custom tool I built in Google Sheets, and it's based off of another tool I've used from 5e, a wink. So if anyone knows what's going on there, you might know what I'm talking about. Looks like I need to fix something. Hold on a minute. Oh, my chat box is horribly messed up at the moment. Why is that so far down? Oh, that's why. $210,109. $210,109. No, that's not right at all. 286,703. There we go. All right, let's see how that works out. Ah, much better. Okay, let's... I thought I had it set to... I don't know. We'll just crank that up a bit. All right. Anyways. Oh yeah, duh, I am live. Okay. All right, so we have a tool here. And what am I doing with this tool? First of all, I got some latency. There we go, perfect. So what do we have here? Well, we have this tool that I like to use based off of another tool that I used quite a lot. And on the right side here, we'll see this chart. And this is the chart that D&D's provided in the DMG for creating custom monsters. And what happens here is that when we find respective areas of, you know, for instance, hit points and AC versus the damage per round and the attack bonus or the difficulty check for a spell or something, the monsters will jump around here and move up and down depending on how it works. So with that, let's get right into actually deconstructing a monster just to see what we've got going on. Okay. What I'm going to do is randomly pick some numbers and go from there. So, as you can see up here on my tabs, I've got, let's see here, can I, yeah, let's go full screen. That'll be much nicer. All right, so let's go over here. And this is my Excel sheet that I keep track of all the monsters that I've been working on. So we currently have a monster waiting. A person had requested the Quickling a while back, and unfortunately this week I won't be getting to the Quickling. I have a special event this whole week covering monsters, and you probably saw this week's already, and it was a Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft monster, the Strigoli, if I remember correctly. So if you haven't seen that already, it was up at 5 o'clock at like an hour ago. Okay. So for our Quickling, since we have one here right now, let's take a look at that and see where the Quickling comes from, because I don't have that one set. Give me a moment. Oops. I just have to look up what book the Quickling comes from, and then we'll get the information for that. Okay, so the Quickling is coming from Volo's Guide to Monsters. Really need to get those book things down. And Let me pull up my folder here, and we will grab Volo's Guide to Monsters. Here we go. All right, let's look for the Quickling. Page 187. So probably 188. Sure enough, here we go. Quicklings. Okay. So, easiest thing to be is to split screen this. So let's push that over here. Nope, I don't want that one. I want this one here, and we'll have to get that off of full screen because I thought that would be better. All right, so our Quickling, it's a CR1. So in theory, our Quickling should be pretty easy to deconstruct here or expose the CR. So the first thing I always like to do is put in the information for its base stats. So we have its AC of 16, and we'll plop that right here into the part for AC. And as we see here, when we switch that from 10 to 16, it already is making calculations in the background because I have this calculations tab here with a bunch of hidden stuff. And it starts to move things around and starts already looking at the items that we need. So our Quickling has an AC of 16. Ah, yes, thank you. Thank you, Rain. I didn't see your chat message. It is in Volo's. I appreciate that. Thank you. So we'll throw the AC in there, 16. Already we're seeing a shift in its DC rating to 1/8. It's a tiny Fey. Oh, also, Rain, if you have any recommendations or suggestions for a monster you'd like to see, definitely throw it in the chat and I will do that next. So we'll switch the monster to tiny and we'll take a look at the 3d4 that our monster has here and just recreate that for the time being. So our monster has 3d4 hit points and we add in the Constitution bonus of 13. Now, normally I wouldn't need to add in the Wisdom or Charisma because those are usually just for some of the monster features down here, but just for the sake of things, I'll throw that in there anyways. So the Wisdom modifier is a 12 and our Charisma modifier is a 7. Won't really have any major impact on the monster besides just having it in there. All right, so next, it's important to put in the expected CR because that will change the expected hit points for our monster based off of Frightful Presence, Horrifying Visage, and a few other traits that the monster may have. So our monster is expected to be a CR1. We'll come down here and throw that in there. Doesn't really modify anything right now because the Quickling doesn't have any traits in this section here. And then we move into looking at its damages. So after that, its offensive capabilities and such. Usually what I like to do next is over here in its stats, I'll look at the traits and the features that the monster has and look for any saves it might have or something else going on. And since it doesn't have anything else, we can actually just kind of skip right through this because skills don't take into effect anything into the monster or its senses and whatnot. So let's take a look at the other features that our monster has. Well, our first one here is blurred movement, and attack rolls against the Quickling have disadvantage. Well, that unfortunately doesn't help our Quickling at all, actually, in battle. Yes, it does give disadvantage for attacks because the thing's moving so fast, but it's not really applying anything to the Quickling's offensive capabilities, surprisingly enough. So with blurred movement, we're going to skip right over that, and we'll see, because I've already gone through this before, we'll see that the Quickling actually doesn't make any major changes to it. So the next thing is evasion, and the evasion here, if the Quickling is subject to an area that allows it to make a dexterity save, yada, yada, yada. Luckily, evasion is in our monster features chart here. So we'll just come right down to evasion, or avoidance, I should say, because it's the same thing here. If the creature is subject to an effect that allows it to take a saving throw to take half damage, which evasion is, we'll check this box here. Come on off. There we go. So avoidance is the same as evasion for this purpose of calculating the CR. So we'll see here when we click the monster features checkbox and we come over here, it shows you right off the bat that the monster is now getting a +1 effective AC increase, which is pretty awesome. So we see that already when we look here at the 16 and then compare it to the effective AC, it's already bumped up to a 17. And as we can see here in comparison of our DCR and OCR, we're already getting some changes from before. All right, so cool. We've taken a look at evasion, which in other terms is avoidance. We can move on to its attacks section. And because our Quickling has multi-attack, it's going to make 3 dagger attacks. So we'll take that into account when we want to take care of damage here. And because it's on an Excel sheet, we can have some fun here, which is great. So just for the heck of it, I'm going to say before we throw any kind of damage into the DPR section of this box here, let's take a look at our dagger. I'll just label this dagger right here. And then in the next box, we'll put in the equal sign to do a variable. So there's an important thing we need to take into account here when we look at this. It's that half damage. All average dice are always at, a 0.5 something. So for instance, the dagger here is a D4 plus 6. So what it's actually saying is that we take the average, which will be 2.5, and add in the 6. So our dagger is actually going to be a total of 8.5 damage. Now, because of the multi-attack 3 times, we'll just go and do this. We'll say like, okay, cool. We'll take the dagger attack, multiply it times 3, and we get our new damage of 25.5. Now, once we have the total amount of damage, we need to round down and remove any excess half damages. So the multi-attack will be doing 25 total points of damage. And we could even do that if we wanted to go back in here and add in the features, say like, okay, let's round down those 2 numbers, or those 2 variables. Oh, I missed something here. Oh, I have too many D's. That's the problem. There we go. And we get 25 points of damage, as you can see up here in the preview. And then what we can do is we can either plunk in 25 right here, or we can say, equals the multi-attack. Doesn't matter, as long as we put in the 25 points of total damage per round from our Quickling's multi-attack that it does every round. So in theory, if the Quickling is hitting, and with a +8 to attack, it better be hitting. This Quickling on average is going to be dealing 25 points of damage, which is pretty rough at a CR1. Okay. So the next box down is, does the monster use saves? And I used to pick only I used to pick whatever was the highest amount of damage, and I would then use that. So if it was a spellcaster, or if it had some kind of a spell, I would say, cool, all right, so this is the biggest amount of damage you can do, and we're going to base all of it off of that. I don't do that anymore. Now, instead, when we get to the save section here, I only use that if it's basically every attack. I look at whatever is doing the most amount of damage each round and going from there. So if I know, for instance, our monster is going to be doing more melee attacks, for instance, like it is here in the multi-attack, or if it's doing more spells, which generally will be from casters, I will tick this to use saves. And the nice thing is that when I tick it, this instantly changes and says, oh, okay, we're going to say difficulty check now because of my, my programming into the Excel sheet. So let me get rid of the DC saves here because it's not using any saves for its attacks. And now we're going to add in its attack bonus. And I'm sorry. And as we saw here, our Quickling has a +8 to attack. Right off, I'm going to tell you that +8 is tremendous. It is so huge that I'm starting to favor any kind of weapons that give a bonus to attack rather than just straight damage, because I would rather attack I would rather hit more often and do smaller amounts of damage than having a less chance to hit but doing massive amounts of damage. It's like that death by 1,000 cuts idea. So, since our quickling, this is the last bit of information we need from our quickling, I'm going to go full screen just so you can see some changes here. And I'm going to pop in this +8. So let's look at this already. Over here in our challenge rating, our quickling is already an OCR 3 with a DCR of 1/2. We're getting a CR 2, but that's before we even put in the 8 here. You can only imagine what it's going to look like once we hit that attack bonus 8, which I'm going to do right now. All right, so the changes are immediate. We come back over here to OCR 5, or OCR, the offensive combat rating, or excuse me, the offensive challenge rating, and it jumps up to a 5. So how are we getting this? How is this quickling getting an OCR of 5 resulting in a challenge rating of 3 when it's supposed to be a challenge rating of 1? All right, well, this is where this chart comes into play. And this is what I base a lot of this information off of. First we take a look at the damage, okay? Our damage is 25 points per round. So we'll come here to this column, and we'll come all the way down to where 25 points of damage is. Cool, here we go, 25. It's in this area, and we come all the way over, and we find that it's a CR 3. So offensively, before we apply the attack bonus, the 25 damage is considered a CR 3, as we saw before. Now, 25 points of damage is expecting an attack bonus of 4. Our quickling has an attack bonus of 8. This is already, you may be seeing why this is important and how crazy this gets. The CR 8, or excuse me, the attack bonus 8 is +4 over the expected attack bonus here. Let me highlight some stuff here just so we can see what's going on. I'm going to give that a light red. Okay, so the damage is supposed to be 25. It's expecting a 4, but it's got an 8. So because of that 8, we divide that in half, because every 2 points it's higher than the expected, we move it up 1 whole CR rating. And because of that, it jumps up from CR 3 all the way up to CR 5. So this is why I was saying before that I would rather have weapons that give me a lot of chances to hit and increasing that chance to hit, rather than having, higher damage. Higher damage is great, yes. But if you have low chances to hit, it's going to drop it down. And I can show you that in a minute with other monsters, or as an example. So, we come across to over here, the 3, and our OCR is a 5 because of that increase from the 8. So let me just mark that for the fun of it. And then also let's go back to the DCR and explain that a little bit as well. So the DCR is a 1/2. How do we get the DCR 1/2? Well, we do the same as we did with the offensive. We take a look at the DCR, or we take a look at the hit points of 10, and we find it on the chart. So we come over here to hit points, and we come down until we find 10. Now this is the weirdest thing here. 10 is considered a CR 1/8. Oop, don't want to drag anything by accident. So 10 hit points is considered a CR 1/8, right? It's expecting an armor class of 13. So let me go and highlight this. And I'll use the blue over here. It's not going to come through. It's not going to come through because... All right, I know what I can do. I'm going to use the borders. All right, we'll do this, and then we'll do like that, and there we go. Okay, cool. And let's reset those two as well. Just give me a moment while I get rid of that stuff, and I'll highlight those in red. All right, so we have our highlighted ranges and that for the offensive capabilities. Now for the defensive capabilities, our DCR here of 1/2, we have 10 hit points in the hit point column. It's expecting an AC of 13, and it's rated at CR 1/8. Now, we look at the armor class, and the armor class is just like the attack bonus. Having more armor means it's harder to hit. We all know this. Everyone wants to have higher AC when we are attacking and whatnot, or being attacked, I should say. We don't want to be attacked. So we do the same thing. We just take the math again. We look at a 13. We look at our armor class that it actually has and compare the two. So our 16 is +3 over the expected of 13. We divide that by 2, which ends up being 1.5, and we round down. So we get rid of that half number and we get a +1 bonus. Did I do something wrong here? Oh, right. I forgot about the avoidance of being able to avoid magic. I'm sorry. This is why it's important to look at this column here for all the effective and average changes. It just so happened that the damage worked out in my favor. So, I'm sorry, 17. We compare the 17 over here to the 13 over here. I want to try something real quick. I don't know if it's going to show up, so give me a moment while I wait for latency. Let's do this. Get that light shot going. And let me see if I can draw this out. Now, bear with me for a moment while I wait for the stream to catch up. Oh, perfect. It's working. Okay, great. So I don't even have to do the borders and whatnot. I can just draw on it like this. All right, so we have the 17 here. We have the expected here. And because, I'll just draw some arrows. We are comparing the effective AC changes to the expected AC of 13. That's a 4 difference. And again, we divide that in half. That's +2. So our, let me get rid of all that. Our 1/8 shifts 2 places up to 1/2. And that's why we end up with a DCR 1/2, even though it's got miserable hit points. Cool. I was hoping this would work so I can draw. I got to find a better way to draw on the screen while streaming. But yeah. So there we go. Our little CR1, as per the rules in the Dungeon Master's Guide on page 279, is actually a CR3 as far as I'm concerned. So the question is, do we modify the Quickling, or do we just redraw it as a CR3 monster? If we wanted to bring it down to a CR, if we wanted to bring it to down to a CR1, what could we do? Well, first of all, let me see if I can get rid of these. Do some Control Z's. Cool, got rid of those. Awesome. So how can we bring it down to a CR1? Well, the first thing would be, let's get rid of some multi-attacks. So let's say our Quickling, we nerf it a little bit and remove the 3 and drive it down to 2. All right, so our damage becomes, a 17. And let's go back into the screen share thing here, the light shot. And we'll see that we now have a 17 for our damage, our expected damage. And this is bringing it down to a 4. So it went from a 5 to a 4. So let's take a look at this on the chart here. So our chart, let's highlight that. We're expecting, on average, 17 points of damage. So here we go. We've got that, and it's expecting attack bonus of 7, and this rates it at a CR2. Or OCR2, excuse me, before changes. Again, our attack bonus, the effective attack bonus is an 8. There's nothing modifying it, so our attack bonus is an 8 here. And we compare our 8 and a 3, which ends up with a difference of 5 this time rather than 4. We divide that in half, and we end up with 2.5, round it down to 2. Then we get another shift of 2, just like before. Because the attack bonus is so high, we need to bring this up. Or because the attack bonus is so high, this keeps pushing our Quickling up 2 ratings. So even if we were to nerf this all the way to 1, which we can look at here in a second, even if we nerf this to 1 attack and kind of get around the whole idea of like, oh, this is a quickling, it should be fast. Well, let's say we, oh, I'm in the wrong spot. Let's just multiply it by 1 instead and see what happens. Well, oh, surprisingly, here's our challenge rating. This is the CR1. Here's the easiest way to fix this, and I will take a note of this, to fix the quickling. You nerf its multi-attack. You get rid of its multi-attack. So by doing that, because our... Oh, look at that. Give me a moment. I'm reading the comments from Rain. What would you think of treating blurred movement similar to the Fairy Dragon Superior Invisibility? +2 effective AC. It's still a CR3 overall, but it seems blurred movement should affect defense CRs. Well, let's take a look at the monster again. Where did I put it? There we go. Attack rolls against the quickling have disadvantage unless the quickling is incapacitated. You know, we could say that. Let's go back to, sure. Yeah, let's try that out as invisibility. So let's go back to, let's have this back at 3. And let's give it invisibility, superior invisibility down here. So our Pixie, it's similar to the Pixie, +2 effective AC bonus because of that disadvantage that it gets. Yeah, I mean, it only brings the DCR up to a 1, and it's still a 3. So, in theory, it doesn't really change it all that terribly much. I mean, it still gets disadvantage on attacks, so we have that. And, you know, we could rate the quickling as a CR3 if we wanted to do that. All right, I got another comment here, so let's see. Just wanted to stop by and say hi. It's Boom Shakalaka, someone who's been commenting a lot. Hey, Boom Shakalaka, thanks for stopping by. I hope you have a good day, man. You really helped me with checking monsters' abilities and balancing any homebrew monsters I make. Awesome. Thanks for stopping by, and I'm glad my channel could help you out with that. I appreciate it. All right, so yeah, Rain. We could totally treat the blurred movement as superior invisibility with that +2 because, you know, superior invisibility just does the same thing. It does the disadvantage on attacks. So that was a good catch, Rain. Thank you. And it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't modify it at all. It brought its DCR up from a 1/2 to a 1, which is cool. And I will remember that for the video because this is going to be a video. This will be somewhere into next week's video. So not this week, but the following week. All right. So let's take a look at what happens if we nerf with what Rain had suggested. Let's nerf the damage to 1. And now we have a challenge rating of 2. So how could we bring the OCR down even further? Well, we could try bringing down its... we could try bringing down its dexterity, because the dexterity is a huge factor here. So let's see what happens if we nerf it by 1 and say that the dex is instead a 21, and that'll bring it down to a +5 bonus. So that will, well, let's see here. First of all, it's a 6 plus a proficiency of 2, so that will make that a 7. And the AC will drop to a 15 because it's based off of its dexterity. Okay. Now we have a 1. We also have a 1 this way if we nerf the dex by just a little bit. So we bring the dex down from 23 to a 21. 23 to 21. And multi-attack from 3 to 1. We can get our CR from 3 down to 1, which is printed. So this is pretty rough. That's a really hard thing to do because, as we see here, with all the extra changes from the superior invisibility suggested by Rain, and hopefully I'm getting your name right. Sounds like I'm saying it right. And nerfing its multi-attack because it's still fast. It's still extremely fast. we can find that printed CR1. So I will have to make some notes here about how to fix this. Not necessarily the quickest fix, but it's some things that would need to be remembered. All right, so we've gone through that. Does anyone... Man, I'm going to have to do something with that chat box. That chat box is horrible. Okay. Is there, now that we've gone through the quickling, is there any suggestions for another monster to look at? Otherwise, we can pull up one randomly. I'm going to look at some stats real quick while I wait for any possible suggestions. Okay, so Rain is asking, out of curiosity, have you broken down the beholder before? Seen it done a couple of ways, tackling the probability of damaging rays into account, but was wondering what your method was. Yes, I actually did work on the beholder, and that is one of my videos, actually. I still have the chart here, so let me pull that up. Let me see if I can find it quick. Perfect. Okay. Yes. Yeah, I got you. Taking the probability of damaging rays. So here's my crazy chart for the beholder. The cool thing is that obviously the legendary actions can repeat. So I just took, what was it, B12 times 3? Which was, I think, the average of all possible damaging rays. So the possibility of its damaging rays from legendary actions worked out to be roughly like 165 total damage. And then these are all of its rays, 1 through 10 here. So Ray 1 did nothing. Ray 2 possibly had a +1 AC bonus. 3 and 4 did nothing. 5... had 36 damage. 6, 7, and 8, I believe, because they restrained. I'd have to look at the monster again, but restrained or did something to hamper the players. I gave those effective AC bonuses as well, but didn't really take those into account. And then Rays 9 and 10 did on average these amounts of damages. So why did I give that B12 just times 3? It should have been, it's been so long since I've done that. But anyways, this was over here. This is the main part of what how I assumed to get the damages. So it was kind of like ooh, cats are fighting. Permutations, n number of possibilities and whatnot. So I think, let's see here. Ray 1, you have 3 out of 10 chances on its attack. What I do? I added up B12, 11, and 7. So I added up the 3 and then divided the total by 3/10 and came up with an average of 40 damage for Ray 1 because there's a really small chance of possibly getting damage. Again, it's been so long since I've done this, I don't remember my logic behind it, and I made a note here that it may not be as accurate as it's supposed to be. But then I went to Ray 2, and you couldn't have the same Ray as Ray 1, so I then added B12 and B11, and I did the different permutations there for each different combination of Rays that could show up and got the average amount of damage there, which somehow worked out to be more. I don't know how or why that was. I guess because of the low chances or the better chances or something. I don't know. But I divided it by 2/9 of the sum of the 3. I don't know. And then Ray 3 was, okay, there's 1 out of 7 chances of getting another damaging Ray. So that one sounds correct. Like, the average amount of damage should be 19 for the 3rd Ray, since at that point, the likelihood of getting the 3rd Ray on all 3 attacks was very low. Something isn't right here. This one should definitely be somewhere between 40 and 19, I think. I don't know. Again, I somehow should not have, I don't know. I think I should have had the average. Did I not do the average? No, I summed it up. That's the problem. Okay, let's see here. If I round, oops. All right, let's sum those. Round down. Divide by 3, and then divide again. That looks right. That looks better. So that should technically be 20. There should be on the second ray, the average should be roughly about 20 damage, especially if you get, non-damaging rays. And then, let's see here. So this sums up those 3, divides it by 3. The average possible damage per turn was 26, but the average for legendary actions, which was... yes. Okay, so this was the per turn average damage for all 3 rays, potentially either landing on damage or not landing on damage, and then adding in the chance of getting a damaging ray each time for the legendary action. I came up with like 146. And then I put that in to the whole thing for the beholder and got some kind of number. I'd have to update it because my shorts video is a little out of date, obviously. Okay, I'm probably going to be on for another 20 minutes or so. So probably about 7 o'clock, I'm going to end the stream. So do we have another monster we want to look at for this live stream? Let's get back to the tool here. And let me go to my notepad so I can take a note of all this. So let's see here, Quickling. Quick fix, dex from 23 to 21, multi-attack 3 to 1, which is horrible. This will drop the CR 3 to 1 as well. I could have copy pasted that, but that's not a big deal. So Rain says, thanks for the explanation. Have you calculated the Mummy Lord before? Yes, I have calculated the Mummy Lord. That may also be in my, down in here. Let's see. I don't have any mummies, but I do have it in my notes somewhere. Let's see. I don't remember where exactly the mummy is. Okay, let's see if it's in here. This will help me find it, possibly. Okay, so I didn't do the regular Mummy Lord. I've done the Lesser Mummy Lord, which is very close. Let's get rid of that one. Yeah, I've done the Centaur Mummy, Lesser Mummy Lord, and Didarius, which is also another mummy. Let's see here. Where was Didarius at? Pretty sure. How does glare affect CR, if at all? All right, let's take a look at that. Oh, glare. That's the one that it's like frightful presence. Let's pull that up. Let's just grab, where is it? Monster manual. There we go. Mummies. Oh, I need a mummies, page 227. So let's go to 228. Perfect. I don't know how that worked. All right, so we're talking about the Dreadful Glare. And the Dreadful Glare targets one creature it can see within 60 feet. If the target can see the mummy, it must succeed a saving throw. blah, 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 or become frightened. Okay. Because it's in part of the multi-attack, I would treat it similar to Frightful Presence. So I would either use Frightful Presence or Horrifying Visage, which would fall under the same rules as... it would follow the same rules as Frightful Presence, which means if the monster's over CR3, then unfortunately it doesn't get any kind of a bonus. In this case right now, let's say here, let's just throw it on to the Quickling because we have the information here. It's getting an additional 1.25 times hit points. So that's why we're only seeing 3, because it's a quarter of the 10 hit points. So yeah, it's adding in an effective quarter, 25% hit points if the mummy or the monster is under CR10 or under. And we can see that in, do I have the, yeah. Let's go here. And then we'll jump down to page 270. Let's get down to, perfect. This is right where I wanted it. All right, so Frightful Presence. Increase the monster's effective hit points by 25 if the monster is meant to face characters of 10th level or lower. I've read this once before, and kind of, when I was building out my tool on Google Sheets, I was kind of concerned about the wording here. And in essence, we would want to look at like Xanathar's Guide and the monster building there. Do I have the book? I might have to grab that later on. I don't think I have it with me right now. For Xanathar's Guide for encounter building, I like to use those charts there. And actually, no, I think I did look at this before. And it's pretty even. Like a level 10 character could fight level 10 monsters. So it still kind of worked out. So I think that's why the chart and why I built it this way was that as long as the monster is a CR10 or lower, we'll add in the 25 extra hit points. And we can go from there. So the glare, in essence, is adding in extra hit points because if the Frightening Presence and the glare works, which I had a mummy recently in a one-shot adventure or one-page adventure, and the glare didn't work at all. Everyone fended it off because it was just a regular mummy. But it was able to, it's supposed to fear and send the extra players away. So in essence, it's gaining extra hit points. So that's how I apply the glare. I set the glare up as either Frightful Presence or Horrifying Visage. It's the same thing, these two. Even as we see here, see Frightful Presence. Oh, I didn't want to go there. I wanted to go here. So yeah, glares from the mummy. Extra 25% hit points provided the mummy or anything else using that monster feature is CR10 or less. So for instance, let's throw in a whole bunch of hit points on our Quickling here and say it's got 20 hit dice. All right, that didn't really do much. You know what? While we've got some time left, where did I put my mummy? All right, let's throw this into the machine here. So I'm going to hit reset. It's going to reset everything. Let's get rid of all these little extras that I put on. And hopefully there's no spells to deal with. No, there's no spells, thankfully. Spells take some time. Let's see your comment here. Do you take things like crits from paralyzing effects from creatures like the mummy's glare or the fiend's flail as paralysis into account regarding OCR? No, I don't. I don't actually... Every monster that I've worked with that has been officially printed, and if you've been watching my videos on Wednesdays, I've been going through Kobold Press's Creature Codex. It doesn't seem to really matter. Crits and paralyzing effects, like, I would think that a paralyzing effect may actually increase the effective AC of the monster, because that character can't do anything, so it's stuck in place. Therefore, it would, in theory, like, oops, I don't want to go there. Let's just hide that so I don't keep clicking it. In essence, I would think that maybe paralyzing effects would work similar to constrict and add in like a bonus effective AC. So you could try playing around with something that, you know, paralyzes or otherwise restrains a player in place and see how that works out. Because I'm always aiming to hit the CR, and if I ever go over, it's usually because there's way too much damage going on. And if I'm ever under, it's usually because I might be missing something. So just for the fun of it, since we have the mummy here, and I'll add this to my list. Let's see here. Since I'm going to go through it, it's a mummy. And it's a CR3, just so I have that for my records. All right, let's go through this. All right, so our mummy has AC 11. It is a medium creature with 9d8 hit points and a constitution of 15. The wisdom and the charisma don't matter because it doesn't have those features. And then the damage. So first of all, let's look at a couple other things. Our mummy is vulnerable to fire, but it's only one trait. It's only one condition. So I'm ignoring that. It seems as though D&D and Wizards only takes into account anything with 3. So because the damage vulnerability is just fire, we're not going to count it for this. It does have resistances to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing, so we were going to add in that. We'll click this for resistance. So our mummy is getting 2 times the hit points because of its damage resistances, and it's also got immunities to necrotic and poison damage. Now, we could, it's 2, so I'm going to ignore it because I've been doing this so much now that I already know that immunities is also going to be 2 times the hit points, so it doesn't really matter. So we'll just put in resistances because I like to keep that hard rule of 3 conditions or more to take that into account. It's got a bunch of condition immunities. If you've been watching my videos, I never add those in. Those don't matter. Then we got the multi-attack and rotting fist. So like I said before, dreadful glare. Let's add that in as a frightful presence. Or just for the fun of it, let's say horrifying visage, which is giving plus 36 effective hit points. Which may or may not, let's see, what is frightful presence giving? 45. Something might be off. Oh, no. This is right. 36 is right because I forgot about the immunity. So, yeah, duh. 145, a quarter of that should be 36. Okay. So now we have the Rotting Fist. Let's take a look at the Rotting Fist and read through that. Rotting Fist's got plus 5 to hit, so we can add that into its attack bonus. Also, I forgot to mention the saving throw. There's only one save, so we don't have to worry about that. The saving proficiency is 0 to 2. If we had more, it would get plus 2 or plus 4 effective AC bonus, but because it doesn't, 0 to 2 only, it gives nothing. There's no bonus there. So Rotting Fist, back to that. Hits one target, has a plus 5 to hit, and it deals 10 bludgeoning damage and 10 necrotic damage. So here's one thing to remember. The necrotic damage is actually 10.5 because of that odd number of 3d6s. So if we had a multi-attack here, if we had a multi-attack of 2 Rotting Fists, that would then be a total of 21 necrotic damage, not 20. So our defensive, our damage per round, let's just throw that in, will be 10 from the bludgeoning plus 10.5, but we're going to drop the 5 because it doesn't matter, and that will be 20. Let's see here. If the target is a creature, it must succeed a Constitution saving throw or be cursed, and starts losing hit points every 24 hours. Because it's a curse, we are going to ignore that because it takes forever for it to come into effect, especially if these players come across this mummy at higher levels or a deep, long dungeon. it doesn't matter. The curse is important, and it's important for play, but in terms of finding the CR, doesn't matter. So looks like we have everything for our mummy here. So let's take a look at our totals in the green section and see what we come up with. Boom. There we go. We have a CR3. That's the printed rating for our mummy. The DCR is a 3. The OCR is a 3. Proficiency bonus +2. Because of the effective hit point boost from Frightful Presence of the Dreadful Glare, we have our CR3 of the mummy. I will take a note of that. Actually, I'll show you that. Let's see here. Go to my CR3s. Let's find mummy. I like to keep a note. So I have evaluated this. Its DCR is a 3. Its OCR is a 3. Found a 3, but I got to delete that column because it's redundant. So its rating is even. And I would put any kind of notes in here if it was something like, oh, it's uneven and I need to figure out why. So for instance, like, let's take a look at some of these other things here. Just because I want to make it all nice and even. So for instance, like the hook horror. I've evaluated it, so the X means I'm done with that. It's a DCR 2, its OCR is a 4, and it worked out to be a 3 in the end. So it was even rated, nothing special for the notes. Black Earth Priest, here we go. Here's another one. This one worked out to be a 4. It was underrated by my account, and I gave it the note of saying, okay, don't use shield because, you know, it's a CR4 if you use shield all the time. All right, so we found the mummy. Let's go back to that tab and finish this stream off here. So let's take a look real quick if we didn't take into account the glare, just for the fun of it. Oh, well, looks like it doesn't really matter at this moment because of the resistances and immunities. But it does give some extra hit points, which is nice because we'll see it go from 116 right here to 145. So because the 116 and the 145 are pretty much, let's see here. Yeah, that's the problem. Let's see here. Take off the horrifying visage. 116 is a CR4, but because of the AC shifts and whatnot, it still gets bumped down a little bit. All right, well, that was fun. I'm going to be wrapping this up. So let's see here. Go back to my Streamlabs here and finish this off with a stream is, nope, not offline. Let's go to, yeah, we'll go with that one. That works. So yeah, this was the first live stream of exposing CRs live. Sorry about the confusion there, but if there's any more questions, I definitely wouldn't mind answering them right now because we got a few more minutes before 7 and I end the stream. Rain, I'd like to thank you for hanging out the entire time. It's been super awesome having someone, you and Boom Shakalaka, stopping by to watch the process in action, and you know, asking some questions because they're really good and really important to understand, especially when we need to, as DMs, balance out our encounters. I mean, we don't always have to balance them out, but I find it's pretty helpful to make sure they're nice and balanced. So if there's nothing else, we'll just I'll just talk a little bit more about what's going on here. Oh yes, let's see here. All right, it was awesome seeing the breakdowns in this sheet. Utility you've been considered publishing or making available. Yes, you're talking about I'm sure you're talking about the Google sheet that I have there. I do want to make it publicly available at some point. I'm still weeding out all the errors. Just recently I had a couple errors pop up because I didn't take into account like super low variables. So I'm still waiting to hit like a version 1. I'd say I'm probably somewhere in like a version 0.8 right now at this moment with the Google Sheets tool that I use. but I would definitely like to make it available for others to use and speed up their custom monster creations and going from there. All right, so I have 2 monsters set for the following week. I will randomly pick some other monsters, or if people want to, they can click the link in the description of this stream after the fact. I have a request form now available. It's completely free. It's a Google's form, so all you have to do is just click the link, go in there, and pop in some information of the monster you'd like to see me deconstruct, and I will probably turn it into a video. There's also other things too. I also have the Fiverr link there if anyone would like to have me personally take a look at their monsters and deconstruct them and expose the CRs that I find. We can do those as well. Check out the link. It's in the description just underneath the form or the link for submitting a monster for a video for it to become a video. So yeah. Take a look at those if you're interested, and definitely excited to have more of these live streams. Probably have another one next Sunday or Monday, depending. Just take a look for live stream event alerts, and we'll go from there. If you haven't seen it already, Ryan, I have a video already out today from a monster from Van Richten's, so definitely go and check that out when you're done here. And like I said, daily uploads, so I have another one pretty much every day around 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I upload and have more videos. Friday, they're uploaded at 6, but beyond that, you can see them on a regular schedule, usually around 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And occasionally I have some extra ones as well. All right, Rain, thank you for... Hopefully I didn't say Ryan. Anyways, thank you, Rain, for hanging out the entire time. I appreciate it. And until next time, when we expose some more monster CRs, take care. I'll see you next time. Bye.